Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. So we should be excited when we say that. It is an honor and a privilege to be a part of His kingdom and a part of His covenant. And, there is absolutely nothing about being part of that covenant that is boring. We learn every day, right? Because when we're a part of His covenant, we begin to recognize the power and the beauty of His covenant in His creation. And every day that's something that we get to experience. We get to experience His creation, therefore we get to experience His loving kindness, His mercy, and His covenant. We're going to go into the Torah portion and head off on a huge rabbit trail, or rabbi trail. So if everyone will, turn to, you believe it is Genesis 44, beginning in verse 17. But before we get to that point, so you have plenty of time to get there. The name of this Torah portion is VaYigash, and I've kind of subtitled that Unlocking the Joseph and the Solomon, because that is what I feel like the Father has pressed upon my heart. So we're going to take a little bit different look at this Torah portion. Before we get there, let's go back and look at a shortened version of the life of Joseph. Very short. So Joseph was the 11th son of Jacob, Israel, born unto Rachel, the beloved wife of Jacob. He did not partake in the shenanigans of his older brothers, but rather brought back report of his father. So it was a bit of a tattletale, right? He was the beloved son of Jacob's old age. He was anointed and appointed by Jehovah at an early age. He was given dreams and shown the future in which he would rule over his brothers. His dreams did as much to bolster his popularity among his brethren as the reporting of their shenanigans. So it seemed like every time Joseph opened his mouth, he became a little less popular than he was before. He was hated by his brothers. His brothers conspired to kill him, but after the protest of Reuben, they chose to sell him for a slave's price to the Ishmaelites. He was taken into Egypt and sold into the house of Potiphar. He managed all of Potiphar's business dealings, and Potiphar prospered greatly because of the anointing on Joseph's life. He was falsely accused by Potiphar's wife and quickly imprisoned for a crime which he did not commit. He did not interpret the dreams of the baker and the cupbearer. He was simply a willing and active mouthpiece for the Most High. And they said unto him, We have dreamed a dream, and there is no interpreter of it. And Joseph said unto them, Do not the interpretations belong to God? Tell me them, I pray you. Eventually, he was brought before Pharaoh, who was troubled by several dreams. Again, giving credit where credit is due, he was a mouthpiece for two very prophetic dreams in which Egypt and Israel was held in the balance. He became second in command over all of Egypt, saving during years of plenty, distributing during years of need. His brothers came into Egypt to buy food because of the famine, but his identity was held secret until now. Okay, Genesis 44, beginning at verse 18. Who wants to read for me? Seth. Read 44:18 till I tell you to stop. Just go.
Then Judah approached him and said, O my Lord, may your servant please speak a word in my Lord's ears, and do not be angry with your servant, for you are equal to Pharaoh. My Lord asked his servants, saying, Have you a father or a brother? We said to my Lord, We have an old father and a little child of his old age. Now his brother is dead, so he is alone left of his mother, and his father loves him. Then you said to your servants, Bring him down to me, that I may set my eyes on him. But we have said to my Lord, The lad cannot leave his father, for if he should leave his father would die. You said to your servants, however, unless your youngest brother comes down with you, you will not see my face again. Thus it came about when we went up to your servant my father, we told him the words of my Lord. Our father said, go back and buy us a little food. But we said, we cannot go down. If our youngest brother is with us, then we will go down, for we cannot see the man's face unless our youngest brother is with us. Your servant my father said to us, you know that my wife bore me 2 sons, and the one went out from me, and I have said, surely he is torn in pieces, and I have not seen him since. If you take this one from me also, and harm befalls him, you will bring my gray hair down to Sheol in sorrow. Now therefore, when I come to your servant my father, and the lad is not with us, since his life is bound up in this lad's life, when he sees that the lad is not with us, he will die. Thus your servants will bring the gray hair of your servant, our father, down to Sheol in sorrow. For your servant became surety to the lad for my father, saying, if I do not bring him back to you, then let me bear the blame before my father forever. Now therefore, please let your servant remain instead of the lad, a slave to my Lord, and let the lad go up with his brothers. For how shall I go up to my father if the lad is not with me, for fear that I see the evil that would overcome my father?
Stop right there. A couple of weeks ago, Mona taught a comparison between the life of Joseph and the life of Yeshua. And for someone who says she didn't prepare, it was absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for bringing that. What we see going on here, though, yes, Joseph is most definitely a type and shadow of the Messiah, but we also see a flip-flop to where Judah begins playing the part of the Messiah as well, because he offers up his life in exchange for his brothers. Greater love hath no man. Greater love hath no man. Continue on.
Then Joseph could not control himself before all those who stood by him, and he cried, have everyone go out from me. So there was no man with him when Joseph made himself known to his brothers. He wept so loudly that the Egyptians heard it, and the household of Pharaoh heard it. Then Joseph said to his brothers, I am Joseph. Is my father still alive? But his brothers could not answer him, for they were dismayed at his presence. Then Joseph said to his brothers, please come closer to me. And they came closer. And he said, I am your brother Joseph, whom you sold into Egypt. Now do not be grieved or angry with yourselves, because you sold me here, for God sent me before you to preserve life. For the famine has been in the land these 2 years, and there are still 5 years in which there will be neither plowing nor harvesting. God sent me before you to preserve you a remnant in the earth, and to keep you alive by a great deliverance. Now therefore, it was not you who sent me here, but God. And he has made me the father of Pharaoh, and lord of all his household, and ruler of all the land of Egypt. Hurry and go up to my father and say to him, thus says your son Joseph, God has made me lord of all Egypt. Come down to me and do not delay. You shall live in the land of Goshen, and you shall be near me, and you and your children and your children's children, and all your flocks and your herds, and all that you have. There I will also provide for you, for there are still 5 years of famine to come. And you and your household and all that you have will be impoverished. Behold, your eyes see, and the eyes of my brother Benjamin see, that it is my mouth which is speaking to you. Now you must tell my father of all my splendor in Egypt, and all that you have seen, and you must hurry and bring my father down here. Then he fell on his brother Benjamin's neck and wept, and Benjamin wept on his neck. He kissed all his brothers and wept on them, and afterward his brothers talked with them. Now when the news was heard in Pharaoh...
You stop right there.
Okay.
All right, so, there's so much in this, just what we've read so far. We've got a type and shadow of Yeshua in and Joseph. We got a type and shadow of Yeshua and Yehuda. But there's also implications for what's coming down the road. When they will look upon the one that they pierced and they will weep. When Yeshua, being the Messiah, is revealed to his brother Judah and the other brothers. So it is such an incredible thing, and that there's just every year we go through 12 portions, and it seems like every single year we get something a little bit different out of it. There's something that the Father wants to show us in this time. But that's not it. I have a question. Are you a Joseph? You, as a matter of fact, are, aren't you, kind sir? All right, well, legally you are. Let's find out if you are spiritual. So what are the character attributes of Joseph? For one thing, he is in tune with the voice of Yehovah. He hears him. He listens to him. He recognized that God had a plan, but he didn't know the details. He trusted that God had a plan, but he didn't know the details. He was willing to endure, no matter the cost, to fulfill the plan that God had for his life. And he had a willingness to forgive those that hurt him along the way. And everything done was done out of obedience and out of love. So are we Josephs? Mona, you did such a beautiful job of laying out the life of Joseph and the life of Jesus. But what I was wondering, as I began to think on Joseph, is are these same attributes found in our Messiah? Absolutely. And the last one is he remembered who gives the glory. Never once did he say, I will give the interpretation of the dream. He said, God gives the interpretation of the dream. I don't. So, in tune with the voice of Yehovah, John 12:49 says, For I have not spoken of myself, but the Father which sent me, he gave me a commandment, what I should say and what I should speak. And I know that his commandment is life everlasting. Whatsoever I speak thereof, even as the Father said unto me, so I speak. We know that Yeshua was in tune with the Almighty. He was sensitive and listening. Joseph recognized that God had a plan, but didn't know the details. This is where the similarities kind of waver a little bit, because Yeshua did know the details. John 2:19, it says, Yeshua answered and said unto them, Destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up. He understood what he had been appointed for, what his purpose was on this earth. Willing to endure no matter the cost to fulfill the plan that God had for his life. Matthew 26:39 says, But he went a little further and fell on his face and prayed, saying, O my Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as thou wilt. A willingness to forgive those that hurt him along the way. Luke 23:34 says, Then said Yeshua, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And they parted his raiment and cast lots. I would have to think the most difficult time to find forgiveness for someone was just moments after they nailed you to a cross and hung you up to die. When your body is in the process of dying, but you can find it within yourself to say, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. That's love. That is incredible love. Everything done was done out of obedience and love. John 15:9 says, As the Father hath loved me, so have I loved you. Continue in my love. If you keep my commandments, you shall abide in my love, even as I have kept the Father's commandments and abide in his love. Everything you should have did was around two things, obedience and love. He taught us to be obedient because of his love for us. And he always pointed us towards Allah. John 9:1, And as Yeshua passed by, he saw a man which was blind from his birth. And his disciples asked him, saying, Master, who did sin, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? Yeshua answered and said, Neither had this man sinned nor his parents, but that the works of Elohim should be made manifest in him. I must work the works of him that sent me while it is day. The night cometh when no man can work. As long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world. When he had thus spoken, he spat on the ground and made clay of the spittle, and he anointed the eyes of the blind man with the clay, and said unto him, Go wash in the pool of Siloam, which is by interpretation sent. He went this way, therefore, and washed, and came see. This actually happened at the time of Hanukkah, the Festival of Lights. What an incredible miracle that this man who had never seen anything other than darkness his entire life, had no concept of light or color, was healed by the light of the world at that time. That's awesome. Absolutely awesome. So, Joseph was given to us not only as a shadow of Yeshua Messiah, but also as an example in how we should walk faithfully as we follow Yeshua, doing the works of the kingdom, hearing from the Father, acting on His word, and doing something for the kingdom. So, let's look at some scriptures that kind of guide us through this. In tune with the voice of Jehovah. Galatians 5 and 16 says, This I say to him, walk in the Spirit, and you shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. If you want to hear the voice of God, be obedient when He speaks. And to be obedient when He speaks requires walking in the Spirit. And I want to say this, that, and you shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. The lust of the flesh have more to do than just those of a sinful nature. They also have to do with fear and self-preservation. So, to walk in the Spirit, you have to ignore that fear that you're going to face ridicule or humility. Not humility. Humiliation. Fear and humiliation because you step out in His name to do something for His kingdom. Because the flesh doesn't want to be out there. Flesh wants us to be like the world. The world is not doing the works of the kingdom. Remember this, 1 Thessalonians 5 and 19, quench not the Spirit. You want to hear from God? Don't tell Him to be quiet. When He says something you don't like, don't tell Him to shut up. Don't tune Him out. When He says something you don't like, that's for your own good. And that is at that point that you should tune in even more. Recognizing that God has a plan even if you don't know the details.
I was thinking about something that I heard somebody, I can't even remember who it was the other day, they were talking about how getting your life so filled with noise that you can't hear the Spirit of the Lord. Because sometimes we do. We tend to get so much going on around us, but we're not listening. We're not actually listening to Him because we're listening to everything else.
Absolutely. Well, there's, God has a plan for each and every one of us. And it's not necessarily a plan for us, but it's a plan through us to bless others. And the two things that the enemy wants to do, one is to discourage you from fulfilling that plan, and the second one is to disrupt you from doing that plan, to distract you from doing that plan. So recognizing that God has a plan, even if you don't know the details, Jeremiah 29 and 11 is kind of become my own personal favorite verse, and I'm trying to, really trying to project that on my wife and kids. It says, right, know the thoughts that I think toward you, said to Allah, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end. Joseph knew that Abba had a plan. And there were things that took place along that plan that he didn't understand. First and foremost, he was sold into slavery by his own brothers. He probably didn't think that was part of the plan. He was thrown into prison because of a crime that he didn't commit. Don't think he thought of that as part of the plan either. But we know that in the short portion we read, he said, you did not send me here, but God sent me here. he recognized that every hardship that he had faced along the way was all part of God's plan. And because it's through hardship that the Creator creates character in us that is in alignment with His plans.
Do you think he questioned it along the way?
He had to. He had to. See, God doesn't reveal His entire plan to us. He reveals it just like it says in Psalm, it says, "Thy word is a light unto my path and a lamp unto my feet." Just enough to see where you're taking your next step. And nothing more. Because if He revealed His entire plan to us, we would make an absolute catastrophe out of it. Because we want to see plans going when? Now. Right now. Because we are a microwave generation. But the hardships that Joseph went through that were part of the Creator's plan was to get things out of Joseph that was not of God. It was bringing him to a point of humility, to a point where he would brag about the dreams he saw, but that he would be humble, and it gave him an opportunity to learn. Same thing we'll discover when we get into Exodus. Same thing happened to Moses. Moses was a shepherd in the wilderness for 40 years before he was ever a shepherd of the people of God for 40 years in the wilderness. Because he had to learn what it meant to take care of. He had to be humble. He was pretty high in command too in Egypt. So he had to be brought to a low place where he understood his place in God's plan and not his place in Egypt. All right. Willing to endure no matter the cost to fulfill the plan that God has for your life. Or with Joseph. 2 Corinthians chapter 12, beginning at verse 7 says, "And lest I should be exalted above measure through the abundance of revelations, there was given to me a thorn in the flesh, the messenger of Satan to buffet me, lest I should be exalted above measure. For this thing I besought the Lord Christ, that it might depart from me. And He said unto me, My grace is sufficient for thee. For my strength is made perfect in weakness. Most gladly, therefore, will I rather glory in my infirmities, that the power of the Messiah may rest upon me. Therefore I take pleasure in infirmities, in reproaches, and necessities, and persecutions, and distresses for Messiah's sake. For when I am weak, then I am strong." Paul was willing to go through whatever he had to go through. But he also understood that he had to be brought to a place of humility. Just like Joseph did. That he had to be, and if we will humble ourselves, we will find out just how strong our Creator is. The mighty hand. The problem is that whenever we're in a storm, all we can see is the storm. That's all we can see. Whenever we're facing hardship, that hardship, we become tunnel vision and focus on that one thing. And whenever we focus on the problem, a lot of times we miss God's solution. We miss seeing His hand at work in it all. I'm willing to bet that Joseph too got tunnel vision. When he was in a pit, all he could see was he was in the pit. When he was in prison, all he could see was that he was in prison. But it wasn't until the end that his spiritual vision became 20/20, and he could see where God had done these things and put him in that place for such a time as this. In those times, and even Paul in 2 Corinthians, those times are times of safety, when He's removing things from us that don't belong. So, whenever we were facing those hardships, even more so, we have to listen for His voice. Because His voice, when we hear it, though not as loud as the storm, will calm the storm. Or at least calm us in the storm. Everything done is done out of love and out of obedience. They asked Him, "Master, which is the greatest commandment in the law?" Yeshua said unto them, "Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment. And the second is likened to it, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. On these two commandments hang all the law and all the prophets. So the plan that we're in is not about us. It's not our plan. We didn't create it. We're fortunate and blessed to be a part of His plan. That plan is about Him and about them. It's about Him and it's about loving those around us. That's why He teaches Torah. That's all Torah is. It's about loving God and loving one another. Why would His individual plans for our life be any different than that? He has given us an opportunity when we are listening and we are willing. He has given us an opportunity to be an expression of His love to someone in need. We don't get to pick and choose who that is. We often want to, but Matthew 5:44 says, "But I say unto you, love your enemies. Bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you." So we don't get to pick and choose who we're Joseph to. He does. And if we say, no, Father, no, I'm not going to be a Joseph to that person. I'm not going to be dirty because I don't like him. That's quenching the Spirit. Good luck hearing from Him again anytime soon. Because the next time you hear from Him will be after you've realized the error of your ways and you've fallen on your face before Him in repentance. And not until. So being a hero to someone, the world is full of heroes. Our armed forces are full of heroes. Police are heroes. There are citizens who are heroes. Two things are required to be a hero. One is being in the right place at the right time. And second is having the courage in that moment to do what needs to be done. Being in the right place at the right time and having the courage in that moment and in that place to do what needs to be done. Now, that's what is required to be a hero. Being in the right place at the right time kind of lends itself to the idea of luck or chance, doesn't it? He was lucky to be there at that time in that place, and he had the courage to go and take care of what needed to be done. But being a Joseph to someone, two things are required to be a Joseph. And the first one is the Hebrew word charah. Charah means to encounter, meet, befall, or come to meet. In Hebrew, there is no word for coincidence. There is no word for coincidence. This is the closest thing to it. It's charah. And it means an appointed time. Divine appointment. And the second thing is having the courage in that moment to do what needs to be done. What does being a Joseph look like? What does it look like in action? We know what it looks like in print. We know what's required of us by the kingdom. But what does being a Joseph look like in day-to-day life? For one thing, it requires, as I said, hearing the voice of God and doing what His voice tells you. Whether that is praying for someone you see that is sick or in need, someone that is troubled in their mind or in their heart. It can mean, handing a $20 bill to a homeless person if you're led to do so. And you know what? Careful. Be careful. There are things that we should be doing day by day by day by day that does not require the leading of the Holy Spirit because His Word has already told us to do it. Well, Brother Kelley, I just didn't feel led to. You don't have to be led to. You've already been told to. If you ever hear a voice telling you not to do it, rest assured that voice is not His voice. If you feel the need to go and pray for someone and don't go pray for them, you're going to make a fool of yourself and you're not going to do any good anyway. You're not going to change your situation. Prayer doesn't help. Not the voice of God. No. Not the voice of God. Don't raise your hands in worship. You'll make a fool of yourself. Not the voice of God. Don't clap your hands. Not the voice of God. So having the courage in that moment, in that appointed time in which God has appointed your life to intersect in the life of someone in need, and having the courage to do it. That's what it means to be a Joseph. We just don't know. We don't know when it will happen, where it will happen, how it will happen, and we don't know to whom it will happen. We don't know when these opportunities will present themselves, where they'll present themselves, and who that person in need will be. But this we do know. If we are listening to His voice, we will know in an instant, this is that appointed time. And what if it is when you're coming out of one of life's storms? What if that storm has been just what you needed to bring you to a point to where you could hear His voice and be an expression of love to someone in need? We do not get to choose the time of the appointment. He does. We don't get to pick the location. He does. We don't get any say in how it's going to happen. It's His plan. He gets on the subject. And we do not get to target, we do not get to pick the target of His blessing, whether it's friend, family, enemy, or stranger. It's real easy for us to sit back and look at the life of Joseph and the things that the Creator accomplished through him and how he was a type and a shadow of our Messiah. It's real easy to look at that because it's a big picture. I mean, this one guy pretty much saved the entire world from starving to death. One guy. All right. Well, you know what? Maybe we're not Joseph's on that scale. Maybe we're not. But consider this. What if that $20 bill you give to a homeless guy changes that guy's life forever? What if that prayer that you pray for someone, you know what, maybe that prayer is not to bring the healing that they need in that moment. Maybe that prayer is to show them that there is someone who cares, and that there is someone who loves them, and that there is a God who loves them. And it changes their life in that moment. And they go home and tell their family about it, and it changes their lives in that moment. We can have a very minute Joseph experience in our life, and they can impact the lives of many people that we will never know about and we will never encounter. Will any of us ever have an opportunity to save the world from starvation? Probably not. But in God's plan, in this spinning world which He has created, there are no extras. There are no bench warmers. There are bench warmers. There are those who choose to be bench warmers. Because in that moment, even when they hear the voice of their Creator, they don't have the courage to get out and play the game. We all get opportunities to be adjusted to something. Maybe it's not on a massive scale like we see in the story portion. Maybe it's on a small scale. How do we know that it's not going to have an equal impact? If we're obedient in those Joseph moments, those opportunities, that hurrah when by divine appointment our life crosses the life of someone in need, when we're obedient in those moments, there will be more. He said, when you're faithful in small things, I'll make you ruler over great things. So the more that we are willing to go out and accomplish for Him, the more He will give us opportunities to do. And there will be testing. We will be performance tested. Hebrews 13:1 says, let brotherly love continue, be not forgetful to entertain strangers. Because for thereby some have entertained angels unaware. Remember them that are in bonds as bound with them, and them which suffer adversity, as being yourselves also in body. There will be times in which we are tested when the Creator will step on the scene just to see how good of a job we're doing. Okay, you heard my voice. Are you listening? You heard the marching orders. What are you going to do about it? You know that forgetful to entertain strangers. That is much more than, oh, a stranger, how are you doing today? It's a pleasure to meet you. And the culture in which this was written, the Middle Eastern culture is far different from ours. Because even Islam understands the concept of bless your enemy. They understand that better than most Christians do. Because if you being a Christian or a Jew or to need help from a Muslim person, they invite you into their home. If they give you help, they have to give their life in exchange for yours to protect you. They understand love those who hate you better than we do. They understand bless your enemy better than we do. And there are points in time in which we should be ashamed of ourselves. A Muslim person would invite a Jew into their home and lay down their life to protect them from their neighbors who are flooding up and wanting to kill them. And sometimes we won't pray for anyone just because they said something that hurt our feelings. It's no wonder we get sick. Because we need it. No one enjoys going through hard times in their life. Do you think for a moment that Joseph enjoyed being thrown into a pit? Sold into slavery? Wrongfully accused and thrown into prison. Did he enjoy any of those things? No. But when he understood that his hardships were for a higher purpose, he became content. And he saved everyone. This moment of joy really didn't come until he wept on Benjamin's neck. Because that whole situation could have gone down a whole lot different. Joseph had the power to have every single one of them put to death in an instant. He chose to forget. Judah, the one who wanted to kill him, said, don't keep Benjamin. I'll give myself as a slave to you. Don't keep my brother. Because somewhere along the way, over the last 20 years, Judah had a change of heart. It was through the hardships and sifting that he had been through that he had a change of heart. The Father changed him because that person said, let's kill him. Here comes the dreamer, let's kill him. Not the same person as the one who said, don't keep Benjamin, take me instead. So everyone had gone through some sin.
And you can see the testing that Joseph put his brothers through to see where their heart was in the end, just like the Messiah. Testing. God tested
being Yeshua, being ridiculed, beaten, and put to death, and know that when you return, you're going to weep, you're going to repent, and you're going to quietly bury your face into the neck of Benjamin, your brother, and weep. And you're going to weep with the rest of your brothers. Those who recognize who he is in that moment when he gets revealed. I believe that will be his greatest joy. That will be Yeshua's greatest joy. Is when he is reunited with his brothers. All right, so let's talk about this. So we've established in order to be a Joseph to someone, you have to be willing. You have to be listening. Remember we talked about a couple of weeks ago about how, sometimes we treat God like a cosmic slot machine. Step into the prayer closet, pull the handle, see what falls out, and get up and walk away. If you're not willing to sit there and hear the other half of the conversation, how are you ever going to become familiar with his voice? Because prepared to be the stones, there is more to this life and to this walk than just Torah. There's a flip side to it. It's called the Spirit. You can become an expert in Paleo-Hebrew and Hebrew. You can speak it fluently, but if you haven't got His Spirit, you haven't got nothing. And you can be filled with His Spirit, know nothing about Torah, and you're some nut just spinning out of control. You got to have both. Got to have both. Got to have both. Can anyone tell me what is the whole duty of man?
Fear God and keep His commandments.
Fear God and keep His commandments. So that is the whole duty of man. That is prerequisites. That's the beginning. That's the beginning. Because when we fear God and we keep His commandments, that prepares ourselves. It prepares us to receive more. It prepares us to receive His Spirit. When we receive His Spirit and Spirit and truth come together here, amazing things are going to happen. Then and only then can we be considered through basic training and prepared to go on missions for the King. Only then. Because you can keep Torah and know that you have to care for the widows and the orphans. Commandment. You have to do it. But it's through believing in the Holy Spirit that you'll know who the widows and orphans are. And you'll know what need they need met in that moment. We have to be listening. And when He speaks, we have to be obedient. And when we're obedient, and we move when He tells us to move, where He tells us to move, and how He tells us to move, someone's life can be changed in an instant, forever. An action in a moment can change someone's life forever. And that, my friends, takes understanding His Word, listening to Him, and developing an intimate relationship with Him on your knees in prayer. Because if you know His Word, you know what He expects of you. If you're listening for His voice, you'll know when to move. And when you build that intimate relationship with Him, He'll know that He can trust you.